Hello and welcome back to another episode of Planet Coaster. We are continuing and also pretty much finishing up the whole pirate area this episode. It's been a couple hours of building and filling in details and trying to get things working. So without further ado, here we go. We're going to jump into the speed build and see if we can't crank this out in the next 10 minutes. So, obviously, we are working on the in-between area, in between the upper and lower sections of the pirate park. These little buildings are sticking out, and so we had to add some detail onto them. Using some chimneys to bulk up the bottom bits of pillars. Converting one of the sides to a little bit more of a wooden structure, something a little bit more different to break up the color, of course, from all this plaster that you guys see here. And then, of course, we'll add wood everywhere else as much as possible. We're also going to work on this stage for the little entertainment section that is just on the way up and down. Maybe that gives people something to do, as it is a little bit of a steep walk up. Simple stage, not too fancy. It's kind of reminiscent of the one near the entrance of the park, how it uses the tents as a canopy over the stage area. And then the other side, what we'll do is actually detail it to look like a building, because from down there in the valley, people won't know whether or not that's actually just a short little stage with animatronics on it. It's just gonna look like a normal balcony with a door. Actually no door on this thing, but just some larger details so you can see it from a distance and really tell that it's actually a structure. And we're gonna be using large pieces of marble here, because again, farther away things are, the more probably you have to use large set pieces or use deeper cuts into buildings to showcase scale from a distance. And really, that's a good trick to have. It applies to like sculpting, pretty much, and relief, which is, I guess, another variation of sculpting, you can say. But it applies pretty much to art in general. You want that heavy relief the farther away it is. Here, gonna add a little balcony just so we can try and tie this structure to the hillside and kind of root it into place. We're also gonna copy the short little walls elsewhere in the park and bring them up here to make a railing out of them. Figured, hey, we can pretty much use that anywhere. Gonna throw in foliage on the hillside. And also, I liked offsetting the trim on the stage by one block and up one kind of quarter of a meter or whatever the measurement is there. It doesn't really say how high objects are off the ground yet. And that creates a nice kind of frame for the stage and everything. Here, we're just throwing in some trash detail in terms of just something to fill in the space along the path to make it keep up with theme and foliage. And then over here, 2 bathrooms, a nice drink stall, and a food stall. Now, this whole section underneath here is just, part of the pathway, but because it comes underneath the rock, I figured, hey, I can put some structures in here and make it look like it's kind of supporting the rock partially, but then also remaining as a cave, and people just kind of built around it. I think that's always a cool thing to see, and it's always cool to kind of walk through things like that. Some more plants and trees going along the pathways here just to keep filling in the details, because as I said earlier, this is actually the episode where we're pretty much done with the pirate theme. And here, we're actually going back and I am editing the coaster finally to get the pathway to go underneath the track rather than having that awkward bridge that's been there since pretty much day 2 of our construction. And then the lifted part I'm lining with some boulders so it looks like it's actually following a ramp rather than using its metal supports and things. So trying to keep theme consistent. Here is probably one of the main structures that we're going to build this episode. This is actually, I was thinking about making a gazebo of some kind or some kind of partially covered area initially, and that didn't work out. I didn't like how that was kind of merging together, and so I was struggling with this space. It's kind of an odd shape, and so I settled with kind of this plus design and decide with a nice kind of gazebo here. And it's relatively small, it's just a 3x3, and then it has a higher center point using kind of the plus shaped pattern. And then we are making these walls here and we'll actually copy and paste this section as soon as we fill in these gaps, because I want to make sure it's flush to the structure itself. And so as you can see, I'm using a lot of different set pieces here to try and fill that in, and then we finally kind of settle on using the, I guess, the heavy castle columns here. And then we're gonna copy, rotate them around, and seal off the structure and make it a nice one solid piece item. And it is fairly large. It's a large covered kind of plaza-ish item. We're gonna put some tables in here, and then besides these square tables, we can actually raise up the kind of fountain base and make it a round table. So that's what I did there. Pretty cool to do. And of course, we're using barrels for our seating. I also decided to put some seating outside because I think it's good to break up and extend buildings and have partially outside elements, and then also have some interior elements. And it turned out really nice. Grabbing the lower wall from around the main courtyard area and continuing that and pasting that around and surrounding the structure, adding a nice chimney effect on the top to kind of make it look a little bit more ornate up there, and of course leaving a little bit of space because you can actually go into the structure from all four sides, and then the corners actually have a little railing. Of course, gonna have some greenery around it. Gonna use some chimneys to kind of break off the low wall surrounding the structure as well, and to just bring in some white elements, and that'll hopefully frame it rather nicely. Here, continuing work on the kind of tunnel area, and decided the easiest way to do this is to divide it into an upper section and a lower section. The upper section is just going to be these arches with windows, and eventually there's going to be two doors, almost as if maybe these are like apartment buildings that are just kind of tucked into the mountainside here. And it's a little annoying to build underground like this. The camera fights me pretty much the whole time, and it also, because of the weird camera angle we are, it is not great for moving objects in a fine kind of manner. And so, you know, I had to work around that, essentially. Here, I couldn't find any columns to fill the gaps created by the facilities. And so what this is actually the barrel roll scenery object that constantly spawns a barrel and it rolls down a little slope. So it's a little noisy in there, which I'm fine with. Really just some more ambient noise is always fine with me, but I'm using the backside of it to create kind of these wooden columns without having to use that janky, almost fake plasticky wood that is in the game default. I never really liked that set piece. I really wish they would have a little bit more of a rustic wood column like this. Gonna be putting our lanterns throughout the park some more, because obviously this thing needs lit up so people can see. Doing a quick zoom through everything, making sure everything is working out all right. Up here, I don't know what to do, so I kind of leave it for now. Put some large ships in the bay area, which I really wish I could fill up with water. I can't wait till maybe we get a water tool or something like that, and I could fill that with water, and that deep ravine would look almost like a river and actually start to look like a port. Figured this cave entrance is just too wide and not really, I guess, interesting enough for the coaster, and so we're going to put and make our own man-made cave entrance here. And then also at the end of the road, what we're going to do is end up building a little kind of viewing deck so people can see the coaster go into the cave, and it looks really nice from there. Maybe you can take pictures of your friends as they go in to this old cave-like structure. So what we're having in here are these huts that are actually part of the story of the Smuggler's Run. Perhaps these are structures that on your way through this cave, you're picking up from these kind of remote, almost illegal villages, and there's going to be a dock connecting to the railway here. And then also what I really want to do eventually, once the train pool is out, and make this whole thing a waterway. Just so it's not so cave-like, and make it look almost like you're going through some sort of jungle, and it's just dark because there's that many, the trees are basically blacking out the sky. Anyways, I think that's going to be it for the speed build so far, and then we're going to cut into current me so you guys can see how everything turned out and give your opinions going forward. And so with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the pirate section of the park. It was quite a long process, and now we actually get to move on to a different theme set. Even with the limited parts that we have, I'm going to try something that isn't pirate themed going forward. It's going to be a 2-theme park in the long run. And so the next theme that we're going to be doing is probably some sort of Aztec theme. And the reason being so is that basically I pictured this as some type of port town near maybe the Gulf of Mexico or somewhere like that. And so you get a nice break near the fortress to where it becomes very jungle-like and a little bit more savage land. Basically, what we want to do eventually is have this nice big step pyramid here that's going to draw everyone's eye into that area. And I really need it large enough to where you can see maybe the tip of it while down here. So that's going to be a pretty big build, and that's probably what we're going to be working on next time. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys kind of the finished cave area, at least as far as it goes, before we can get some water. I think it looks pretty nice and detailed, especially since you're going by on a roller coaster really quick. You're just going to get a quick glance at this kind of stuff as you go through. This one is actually made out of a full boat. It was like broken in half, and they put thatch through it and everything like that. So that looks pretty cool. I do like these lights for these type of things. It looks very kind of village-esque or middle of nowhere. Also, there's going to be a nice break here, very dense kind of trees and stuff, so you can't really see where you are at this point. And then as you come around, you kind of return to civilization by returning through this lower overhang section. And then you're back at the port to drop off your goods. That is Smuggler's Run in a nutshell. And yeah, I think that's going to do us for this episode. If you guys enjoy the video, feel free to subscribe. If you're new, go ahead and hit that like button. Leave a comment down below on what you guys think. And as always, I'll see you guys next time in some Planet Coaster.